Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports from A to B. Alongside Mr. Tyler Trudeau, I'm Damon Turbitt. Today is Friday, February 27th, and we will be bringing you your weekly dose of sports as we review the week that was for Spy Ponders Athletics, and we look ahead to some special matchups both this weekend and into next week.
And also, we will take it to the big leagues as Damon and I will discuss some of the hottest topics in Boston professional sports. So stay tuned and be sure to follow us on Twitter at SportsA2B as we keep you updated on all things athletic.
Tyler, what an exciting week for Arlington High as winter sports postseason is upon us now.
That is right, Damon. And our own Rachel Yen has a Spy Ponder playoff update and more on the APN Sports Blast.
Welcome to the APN Sports Blast, where we focus on sports in and around Arlington. The MIAA Division I Girls Hockey Tournament is underway. Thursday, the Lady Spy Ponders took on the Woburn Tanners, winning 1-0 in overtime. Sophomore Molly Stanton scored the only goal Arlington needed thanks to a shutout performance by stellar 7th grade goaltender Danny Bernstein, who made 22 saves. The tournament continues for Arlington High this Saturday as they take on the Reading Rockets. Girls hockey is not the only team to make it to the playoffs this season. On Friday, Arlington High wrestling team attends all states, and the boys basketball team, seeded number 2 in the state, will take on Marblehead in their first game of the playoffs. This weekend will continue for Arlington High Sunday when the Lady Spy Ponders go head-to-head with the top-ranked Woburn Tanners. 2 relay teams for girls indoor track and field broke records this winter. Both the 4x200 relay and the 4x400 relay teams were able to shave off significant time to make Arlington High school history. Middlesex League named their Gymnast of the Year, and the accolade goes to Arlington High senior Chase Currier. Currier completed her career by tying for second on the balance beam with a solid 9 and coming in 10th on the vault with an 8.15. Boston University won its 30th Beanpot this past Monday. Matt Grizzlick, a Boston Bruins prospect and Boston University captain, scored the OT goal that delivered the championship to BU. Northeastern can avenge the loss this Friday when they face off against BU in a Hockey East matchup. That's all we have for today. Join us next time for the APN Sports Blast. I'm Rachel Yen.
Thanks, Rachel. Can you believe that? A 7th grader recording a shutout in a high school playoff game. A 7th grader in high school.
This is crazy. I'm 21 years old. What am I doing with my life? This girl, I want to get her into the studio. Danny Bernstein, if you are listening to this, we want you to come into the studio, get interviewed, because I want to pick her brain. See, how does she even get that job? How do you even recruit a 7th grader to play
I'm not exactly sure, because I know some of my friends who went to a lot smaller schools in Massachusetts got some chances to play in middle school, in high school, but never really at the varsity level.
Yes.
Never mind. So, I mean, Arlington High School is a fairly decent-sized high school, so it's kind of surprising, really, that a girl in 7th grade is even able to play in the first place, but she's clearly a stud. 22 saves, I believe, at the varsity level. I mean, Looking ahead, I mean, Arlington's got a bright future if they can keep her there and if she doesn't take it to a bigger stage.
Clearly an extremely athletic individual, but let's take a look at some of the future games this upcoming week.
The Arlington girls continue in the playoffs against the Reading Rockets this Saturday, while the Spy Ponder wrestlers get ready for all states today.
And on to the basketball court, where Miles Robinson and the Arlington boys basketball team will take on Marblehead tonight in the first round of the playoffs. And the Lady Spy Ponders will take on top-ranked Woburn Tanners on Sunday. So this is a lot of exciting games this week. A very big week for Arlington sports.
Yeah, a very big week for Arlington sports, and also a very big week for Boston sports. I'm sure you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, this past week, the Boston Red Sox signed 19-year-old Cuban sensation Yoan Moncada. The young switch hitter was signed for $31 million, but due to the international player tax, the Red Sox will end up paying closer to $63 million. The Red Sox have shied away from big contracts in the past, but now they are taking a big risk on a player who will start the season in Single A. Do you think that the Red Sox made the right decision signing Moncada, Damon?
Well, I mean, this is tough. The guy's 19 years old, and really we're not going to be able to find out if the Red Sox made the right decision for a couple of years. But basically, if you're talking right now, it comes down to, should the Red Sox have gotten Moncada when they don't really necessarily need him in any position right now, or should they have spent that money on an ace, which is obviously the most interesting question. But in my opinion, the Red Sox, they made a lot of moves this offseason. Obviously, they don't have that ace, but they pretty much filled up every other spot in their rotation. Their offense looks great. They have one of the best farm systems in baseball as it is, and adding a guy like this, whether or not, I'm sure they're going to utilize him down the road. I don't think they want to move him, but even if it does come to that, they have a big contract and they invested a lot of money in him, but he could be a very, very valuable trade asset if they do want to get a big prospect at the trade deadline this year.
I am very skeptical. I don't think we're ever going to be able to move him. Who's going to want to pay $31 million for a 19-year-old? And I would love to eat my own words and see him 2 months into the season starting shortstop for the Red Sox, but I just don't see that happening. And $63 million for that kind of a player, I don't think we should have done that. I think that the Red Sox maybe should have gone with maybe spending some of that money on getting an ace, because that is the hole that the Red Sox have right now. Their offense is definitely improved from last year, but you still need that guy at the top of your rotation, and they've kind of just looked past that, and they're signing for the future. I like that idea, but this isn't going to come helpful for a few years, I think, and I just don't think it's worth the money for it at this point.
Well, worth the money, but at the same time, the Red Sox, they just never really seem to run out of money. John Henry the team is just, there's been so much money invested throughout the years. They've had one of the highest payrolls in baseball for God knows how long at this point. So, I mean, they have money to spend, and if they need to get another guy, they will. But now they have one of the most highly regarded Cuban imports in recent history. So, or if not just history in general, this guy is believed to be a stud. He was highly touted by a lot of different teams in the MLB. As you said, the price tag was hefty, and they weren't ready to quite put that much money into a 19-year-old because they have other assets. But this is a guy who is supposed to be a big deal, and a lot of people really believe that's going to happen.
I do see the upside with him, but honestly, if the Red Sox have endless money, why didn't we sign Lester a year ago? Why didn't we do that? I understand that the risk of taking an old veteran is higher than signing a 19-year-old prodigy, but as I said, the Red Sox' biggest problem is a hole in the top of their rotation.
Speaking of filling some holes, the New England Patriots, they have a lot of holes to fill themselves as free agency is approaching quickly. Big names that could go on the market are running back Shane Vereen, Stephen Ridley, also kicker Stephen Gostkowski, and defensive back Devin McCourty are included in the mix. Patriots don't really have much money to spend unless players like Vince Wilfork, Gerard Mayo take salary cuts. There's also the option on Darrelle Revis' contract. So, Tyler, what is essential, as you as being a Pats fan, what is essential for the Pats and who they should keep and who they should get rid of?
I can't tell you how important getting Darrelle Revis is back. I know for people who have been watching the Patriots, you may not hear him when the games are actually going on. You may not hear his name being said a lot. That's a good thing. That means people are not throwing near him. They don't want the ball near Revis because he will break up the pass or even intercept it. He is extremely talented. He was the core of this defense this year, and he was a huge reason for why the Patriots won the Super Bowl. That being said, I also think we need to get McCourty back because he has also been a very strong person on defense. And if they can franchise him, we can get a good deal for him. And the Patriots really need to focus on their defense because in years past, when they have ignored the defense, teams can just walk down the field on the Patriots. And that's been comforting this year to see that the Patriots aren't getting pushed around on defense like they have in past years. On the offensive and special teams side of the ball, I think the Patriots definitely need to re-sign Gostkowski because he's just such a sure-legged foot, and he just needs to be on the team next year just to keep that consistency going. As for the running backs, I don't really think they need Ridley or Vereen.
I think you can wipe them all out, honestly.
I really like Vereen, and I think he's been huge for us, so I would like to see them at least make an offer, but I think Ridley should be out the door because we still have LeGarrette Blount, we still have Brandon Bolden, we still have Jonas Gray. The Patriots have great backs, and the Patriots have never usually used just one strong back. They've used a whole plethora, so I really think that they shouldn't stress as much money on.
I think you're right, though.
Situation.
I think you're right in, first of all, addressing Darrelle Revis' contract. As you said, I think he's the most important part on that defense. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Gerard Mayo, just because he's coming off of a season-ending knee injury. I think they really need to keep Wilfork. They had some issues with contracts after the end of last season, before this year began. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But Vince Wilfork is integral in terms of production, stopping the run, and as a leader in the locker room. He was the only Patriot, I believe, other than Tom Brady, to have been on the last Super Bowl winning team before this year. So he brings a lot to the team. He brings a lot to the defense. Obviously, it starts with Revis, but I think you got to say Revis, Wilfork, then Mayo, then McCourty. It would be my order of priorities as a Patriots fan. In terms of running backs, I think you can really get rid of Vereen and Ridley. As you said, they just have so many other guys to go to. But this is a tough situation that Super Bowl winning teams always find themselves in. People, their value goes up. They have expiring contracts that they have to take care of. This always seems to happen, and it really always will happen as players' values will increase winning the Super Bowl. So for the Patriots, they just got to, first of all, organize the priorities. We don't know where the priorities lie necessarily right now in their minds, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward.
All right, from the football field to the court. The Celtics have been playing great with their newly acquired players after the trade deadline. On Wednesday, the Celtics destroyed the New York Knicks with a score of 115-94. Evan Turner played a great game, getting his first career triple-double with 10 points, 12 boards, and 10 assists. Jonas Jerebko, after only playing 4 minutes in his first 2 games in a Celtics uniform, dropped a game-high 20 points in just 20 minutes of playing time. Isaiah Thomas has been averaging just over 19 points in his first games with the Celtics. What do you think the future has in store for the Boston Celtics, Damon?
Well, right now it doesn't look too bad. I know I said this to you. I've said this to you multiple times now, and I've said it on the show. I believe I even said it to you last week that the Celtics will make the playoffs. Right now, they're 1 game out of the playoffs. Brooklyn's terrible, only getting worse really after the trade deadline. The Celtics got a little bit better after the trade deadline, bringing a guy like Isaiah Thomas in to help production. Jonas Jerebko, 20 points in 20 minutes. Clearly, he shows that he can help when needed. So for the Celtics, I mean, they're looking pretty good with all these draft picks, and they're just 2-2 since the All-Star break. But with Isaiah Thomas in the lineup, they're 2-1. He got ejected in that game against the Lakers, but it did go to overtime, so they have 2 wins and an overtime loss. So right now, if you're a Boston fan, I think you have a little bit to be excited, actually a lot to be excited about heading into the future.
See, I'm not that excited. I am excited and I'm not excited. It's very difficult for me because I love to see my team win. I love to see them win. They seem that they're connecting together. The new guys are all working well together. But the Celtics, I've said this before on this show, the Celtics can't make the playoffs.
But they're going to.
They can't.
But they're going to.
And that just shows how weak the Eastern Conference is. On the other side of the conference, you have teams battling for that 8th spot, and we just kind of have teams on the East losing.
Yeah, and in the West,
in
the West, you have teams a few games over 500. Actually, like 6-7 games over 500 right now, right around the 8th spot. Where the Celtics, they're 11 games under 500 at 22-33. Yet they're just 1 game out of the playoffs.
I do have to say though, the Celtics do have some tough games coming up. I know they have been playing close games, but they will be going to take on Golden State after they play the Hornets, who they are
also fighting for the playoffs.
Yes, also fighting for the playoffs with Detroit and the Pistons. They will be playing Golden State. They will also be playing Cleveland. And then on Friday of next week, I will not be here, but I will be in New Orleans catching the Celtics play at the Pelicans.
Well, you're going to have to give a report to me then and tell me what you think about some of the new guys and how they're fitting in with Boston. And that should be an awesome trip to New Orleans, by the way.
Excited.
So, yeah, I'm happy for you. But sticking with the Celtics, they will be without Jared Sullinger for the rest of the season due to a stress fracture in his foot. After his injury, Sullinger vowed to lose weight. General Manager Danny Ainge says that the players on the Celtics take pride in being in shape, but Sullinger has not met his expectations. Now, Tyler, should the Celtics be worried about Sullinger's weight?
I've always been a big fan of Jared Sullinger. I remember when he got drafted 4 years ago, and Kevin Garnett really took him under his wing, and it was just great seeing his drastic improvement from the beginning of his rookie season into the final stretch near the playoffs. I just think he's not taking himself as serious. Last year, he played about 27 minutes a game, and he was playing well, and I was very excited to see him turn that corner this year. And then this year, he's only averaging 28 minutes a game. That is not the production the Celtics need from him if he's going to be a core big man for them in the future. He needs to get in the gym, shed some pounds, and he really just needs to focus on himself. He says he's going to change. I hope he does. I really hope he does. I think he has a great opportunity to become a great player for the Celtics, and his contract is up at 2016, so I think he needs to prove to the Celtics why they should take
Well, you know what's
going
to happen is in 2016, Jared Sullinger is going to be gone. And here's the thing. Jared Sullinger, throughout his entire career, going all the way back to his days at Ohio State, he was fantastic in college. But the question that they had going into the draft was about his about his physical appearance and how he can keep pace with the NBA pace of play. So he has not really been able to do that. He's been able to produce at times for the Celtics, but he's just not in shape and not at the NBA level. And going forward, the Celtics have all these picks and all these, they're going to be looking for big men. They have Olynyk obviously down low. They're going to want another guy down low to go with him. Urebko is obviously not going to be that long-term answer. He's going to be a fill-in guy. But they have all these draft picks. I think you're going to see Sellinger get replaced because this has been a chronic thing. This has been throughout his entire career, going back to college, that he has not been in shape, and he's been a little bit injury prone, and we're seeing that obviously with the most recent.
Because of his bad shape.
Right, and so down the road, I only can see him deteriorating more. Whether or not he gets back into shape, I don't see it happening. He still has already done a little bit of damage to himself, really, as a player, I don't think he can get much better than where he is now. So looking forward to the future, I think 2016 is going to be the last time you see Sellinger in a Celtics uniform.
All right.
But that's just an assumption.
Let's take it from the court to the ice. Bruins goalkeeper Tuukka Rask was honored in one of the strangest ways possible. A new species of wasp was discovered by an African team, and one of the scientists that helped discover it was a Boston sports fan. The wasp was named, now stick with me when I say this really wrong, Thoromyranius Tukaraski. This is one of the only good things that has happened to the Bruins this week. After leveling the Blackhawks 6-2, the Bruins lost a close one to the Canucks at home. The Bruins again run into injury trouble. David Krejci will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a partially torn MCL in his right knee. Defenseman Kevin Miller will also miss the rest of the season with a dislocated shoulder. And veteran forward Gregory Campbell will be out with an upper body injury for at least a week. Damon, is it over for the Bruins?
Well, I've been saying this for a little while now, I think, but after what we've seen happen and these injuries piling on top of that, I think we can put the final nail in the coffin. Once again, we'll take a trip down memory lane. Last week where you said, I think the Bruins, if they just get to the playoffs, they can make a solid run. I want to hear what you have to say about that first.
Honestly, I hate saying this, but I think the goose is cooked on this one. I just don't see the Bruins being able to make it into the playoffs. They've been plagued with injuries this whole season, and when they aren't injured, they're not playing consistently well together. And this isn't the same team that won the Stanley Cup in 2011 or went back in 2013. Chara is getting very old. This is not the same team, and I feel like fans are holding on to this glimpse of the past of the Bruins when they were a young, fiery team being able to.
And that's the issue, that Bruins fans just have this idea that the Bruins are supposed to succeed at the level that they have over the last few years. But here's the thing, this is a bit of a different roster. There's a lot of different guys on this team. There's some younger guys. The older guys are only getting older. And Krejci, he's continuing to get injured. Father Times seems to be, even though he's not even that old, but Father Time seems to be catching up to people. So, and Bruins fans, if they can lower their expectations a little, maybe there's a little bit too much pressure in that Bruins locker room. I don't know exactly what it is, but these most recent injuries, I think about just killed him for this season.
It's just very difficult because Claude Julien what is he supposed to do? And he says that he's not afraid of his job being in jeopardy. I completely disagree with him.
Really?
This team was a Stanley Cup contender at the beginning of the season. People thought this team could make a splash in the playoffs. And now they're fighting to get the last spot of the playoffs. I like Claude Julien. I think he's been doing great things for the Bruins since he's arrived to the team. But if you're expected to make a splash in the Stanley Cup Finals,
I think you're a little...
I'm not saying I want him to get fired. I just think that his job may be in jeopardy.
I don't think so. I mean, he's only been at the helm for a few years. He's won a Stanley Cup already, which named the last Bruins coach who won a Stanley Cup. And then, also, he took them to another finals appearance just 2 years ago. So I don't think it's quite time to be calling for Claude Julien's head. I don't think he really has much to be worried about. And I think the Bruins still, regardless of all the things that have happened, they still have a good shot of at least limping into the playoffs. It's just a matter of what happens there. They're probably going to play a team like Montreal, and I'm afraid that they might get swept by the old Canadiens. So it's not looking good for the Bruins.
This might sting to hear, but unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to check us out next week for an APN Sports update, and tune in next week for another episode of Sports from A to B. I'm Tyler Trudeau.
And I'm Damon Turbitt. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, once again, at Sports A to B, so you can stay updated on things around Arlington and Boston sports. Once again, alongside Tyler Trudeau, I'm Damon Turbitt, and thank you for watching Sports from A to B.